Hello everyone, it's me Anoj Kumar Budha, and today I will be explaining about the two real life examples of colonialism from the different part of the world. And I have taken the examples of the legacy of European colonialism in North America, which particularly describes about how the European settlers first visit the American land in the name of business, and then gradually uh, colonize the America. And secondly, I will be discussing about the Israel sovereignty in Palestine, which will be like describing the dominance of Israel over Palestine and the impacts that we are still seeing by the act of colonization which was happened centuries ago. The history of European colonization of North America shows us the exploitation, deposition, and violence that profoundly impact the and enslaved Africans. The time period from between the 16th to the 19th century, known as the era of colonial expansion, as many of this era of establishment, French, Spanish, Dutch, and various other settlements across the continent. Although facing continuous colonization, indigenous peoples and enslaved Africans preserved ability in the face of legalized suppression and the criminalization of resistance. Beside that, European colonial powers forms law to the legitimate the powers forms law to legitimate the exploitation and violation of indigenous people and enslaved Africans, and all legal principle utilized by the colonizers, the doctrine of discovery, a moral and legal justification for the taking indigenous lands by making them unclaimed. Furthermore, colonial laws discriminates the forced labor of enslaved Africans, denying completely basic rights and subjecting them to inhuman treatment. European colonial authorities criminalized all sort of resistance from the indigenous people and enslaved Africans, making biased law and violent enforcement. Like all kind of disobedience was sentenced for imprisonment or like torture and other judiciary procedures. And all in all, despite of years of suppression, these indigenous people and those slaved Africans managed to preserve their cultures and dignity. The act of colonization that have been done in our history many years ago still impact our indigenous community and backward groups. This all shows us the struggle for justice, equality, and self-determination of these marginalized groups. And secondly, I will be discussing about the Israeli sovereignty in Palestine. So the Israeli dominance over the Palestine is a perfect example that how settler colonial occupations have exploited the power to legislate, interpret, and implement the laws that legalize human rights violations and criminalize resistance against any kind of aggression. So after the First World War, Britain gained control over Palestine from the Ottoman Empire, which was like home for a minimum number of Jews, whereas a lot of Arab majority was there. And when the United Kingdom established a national home for Jewish people in Palestine, which leads to the escalating the conflict between Jews and Arab militants over the time. And as the time goes, in 1948, the Britain withdrew from the Palestine as the conflict between Jews and Arab was escalating uncontrollably. So the Jewish leader takes control over the state of Israel, aiming to provide a safe refuge for Jews and establish a national homeland. Following the Israel declaration, 5 Arab countries launched attack, which further creates a situation for violence and conflict. and later on Zionist forcefully invade Palestine, because of which many Palestinians lost their homes, leading to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of uh, people who became refugee in their own land. Early, the Israel authorities imposed law and policies that legalized the violation of human rights, as well as the right to return the Palestinian borders and land. The restriction of movement, access to resources of Palestinian living under occupation, such as Israeli policy of preventing Palestinian refugees. And despite the displacement of inhabitants in 1948, the third generation of those residents tried to reclaim the village, but Israeli authorities prohibited them from rebuilding their homes or cultivating their lands, making the situation unstable and denying. And the Israeli military occupation imposes many restrictions on Palestinians, leading to arrest along with imprisonment and violence against civilians, civilians including children. In nutshell, we can say the Israeli occupation of Palestine shows the